So the first and third Monday of the month are beginners book studies, and the second and fourth Monday of the month are beginner speaker meetings. And so this week we have Chris Raymer, and Chris doesn't know this, but we have a WhatsApp group, right? And I put my special yellow tie on for Chris today, so he better have a good talk. But anyway, we have a WhatsApp group, right? And we post a flyer every week to tell everybody what's going to happen that week, right? And every time we post, you know, something happens in our group. But when I post it, a person leaves the group every time we put a post, and it's kind of a joke in our group. But when I posted Chris Raymer, I think like 5 or 10 people left the group. So I don't know what Chris did, but something's going on. But anyway, I'm really happy to have him here. I'm going to put, we're going to open him in with a round of applause here. So if you'll let me share my screen. Ladies and gentlemen, open it up with Chris Raymer. All right, take it away. Chris, can you unmute? Oh, you're still on mute, bud.
I got it. It wouldn't let me the first tries I was trying because somebody was incompetent at the wheel. So my name is Chris Raymer. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic, and I am delighted to be here. Golly, yeah. You don't want to do that. Can you put me back on the regular? Thank you. It scares me to look at myself that big. Oh my God, just, you know, yeah, don't want to play that game. Golly, I'm going to be watching that clock close because I don't want to run over, but I sure appreciate you guys asking me. And Myers spoke here, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, whenever, and he talked about it forever. He's sending me stuff. Look at this. Look at what they read here. And he was all pretty excited. So bless you, bless you. I want to mention this real quick where I talk. I know I've got some friends on here that I've known for years, and on here you've heard me talk before, so you know where I'm going with this. But it's always good to see your little faces. I want to make sure everybody knows I'm going to share my experience. My experience may be different than everybody else's experience. It's just, guys, that's the one thing about speaker stuff. You're not going to be able to say anything without pissing somebody off. You know, just introducing myself, somebody will get grindy about it. So, and that's the last thing I want to do, guys. I guess when I was younger, I didn't care, but I do net today. I don't want to offend anybody, and I'm not here to fight with anybody. If what you're doing is working, then high five, rock on. I don't have all the answers. You know, we did a big old roundup here locally every year in August, and we just did it this weekend. Our little AA club made tacos. We made 450 tacos for this little roundup in the morning, so all the little drunks would have something to eat, and it was the fun. But they had an old geezer meeting. You know, they have the old timers meeting before the other speaker, and there's an hour, and a bunch of old timers with more than 30 years of sobriety get up and share. And you know, and I'm sitting there with Myers, and we're looking at each other talking about, you know, some of the stuff coming out of these guys' mouths. It's like, this is the stuff that almost killed me in Alcoholics Anonymous. And this was just every little one-liner in the world, and I just, guys. But if it's working for them, who am I to question that? Bless them. Just rock on. I'll tell you a little bit how I got here, folks. I was raised here in the hill country. I wish I could turn this around and show you this stuff out here. It's called rain, and we first time we've seen it. And I mean, literally, guys, we haven't had any rain all year, and you can just hear the little trees sighing out there. But Pops drug us here. We were born out in West Texas, but Dad drug us over here. Guys, I guess in 1964, and we were just, you know, little rats. I went to school here, and I don't know, it was all good. My father was an alcoholic. He's a nice, sweet guy, and there was just, but genetically, my twin brother and I caught the bullet, and I got 2 sisters that didn't, and they're just as, you know, fine as could be. Just the nature of the beast. No goofy stuff. I can't not say it because when I share this, because I want to make a point, because I've worked in the treatment business forever. I do clerical work, and I hear so many people wanting to blame their family for why they're alcoholics. You know, the truth of, I have to say, equal opportunity. My family was wonderful. They were on the front row of the Baptist church every time the door opened. There was no goofy stuff going on. Hindsight, we didn't have a lot of money, but I mean, there was just, they loved us. And my father drank, and you can look up my family tree on both sides. There was alcoholism everywhere, and we came by it natural. And because Pops drank, I was never going to drink. That was the deal. We weren't going to play that game. And I remember it was January 1971, the year that in the month that Bill Wilson, co-founder, passed away. A friend of mine stolen a bottle of Boone's Farm apple wine. And we went down there on the river. All the old hippies are smiling. Yeah, you little young guys, you don't know what that stuff's about. But anyway, it was cheap and it wasn't wine. I don't know what it was, but anyway, he got this little bottle and we went down the river. He wanted us to drink it, and we, you know, we shared it. And he didn't want the rest of it, and I finished it and walked back across the field at home about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and big old grin on my face because I understood why Dad drank. And I've heard 1,000 speakers say the same thing, guys. Alcohol does for us. I mean, it was the first time I remember getting comfortable in my skinny little skin than ever, you know, and everybody wanted to blame you. You know, it's because you're blind in one eye. I got hit in the eye with a rock when I was a kid. And, yeah, that's not. Guys, when I drank that bottle of Boone's Farm apple wine, it didn't make a difference if I had 2 eyes or 1 eye. I was okay. And we just high school. God dang, guys, we drank through my senior year and didn't miss any school, didn't rob any liquor stores, didn't take my clothes off. I would have liked to, but we didn't. And it was all good. And I'll never forget it. We graduated from high school, and I made a beeline from Myers, and I both. We moved to Houston, decided to be. He went to college for a year, and I didn't. I stayed at home with Mom and worked. I was going to be a professional chef. I got a big old job at this kitchen, and had an opportunity to go work in Houston. So we got in a Volkswagen Beetle and headed off to Houston, and got an apartment with 3 or 4 other guys. Y'all know how that works, and it was good. None of us were old enough to buy booze, but the next door neighbor was, and so he'd keep us stocked, and I don't know, never had any problem, guys. I was working with European chefs, and they all drank, and we drank, and I was holding it together pretty well. And I did that for a couple of years, and moved to Austin, and it started the geographics. I start thinking, guys, my life will get better if I could just get out of this town and go someplace else. The truth is, guys, I'm not okay inside. And you can't stay drunk all the time. And I don't know. I keep looking for something that's going to make me feel better. And I was in Austin, and I had a great opportunity, started changing jobs, and went to Atlanta, Georgia, and got a job at a big hotel. And these are all connections, guys. I'm pretty good at what I do, folks. I got a pretty good reputation. I'm showing up on time. I've got a great work ethic that I got from my father, who was an alcoholic, wonderful man. And I'm still to this day, I'm honored that he taught me the things he taught me. But went to Atlanta and was only there for about 9 months because you couldn't buy booze on Sunday. And that just seemed like alcohol abuse to me, and moved back to Texas. And all these geographical cures, guys, I ended up going into back to Houston on one of my forays, and I married this little girl. It was a quick date, and we just, she was a sweetheart. She worked at the place where my brother attended bar, and I owned a little barbecue restaurant there in Houston, and it's pretty cool. I got rid of the barbecue restaurant, just dumped it on my partners, and went to Houston, Dallas, to be closer to my twin brother. He lived up there, and in Lewisville, Texas, and Lake Dallas, up in that area, and just, I don't know, guys. I had a job at a country club there, sous chef, and we bought a little house, and I was in my late 20s. It was pretty cool. And on the outside, everything looked good, folks. And on the inside, I'm dying. I don't know. I'm just uncomfortable as I can be. I'm not a happy camper. And my first wife, when we divorced, she said, "Chris, I'm not leaving you because of your drinking. I'm leaving you because of your depression. I can't stand to be around you." And I appreciate your honesty about that, because that's the truth. So many people don't understand. I can't tell you how many people I watch come to treatment. About 10 seconds after they get on campus, they got an antidepressant stuck up their butt. You know, because I have depression, I have clinical depression. And the truth of the matter is that most of them don't. I'm not knocking, I'm not a doctor. Some of them do, but most of them don't. Most of them have untreated alcoholism. Guys, for an alcoholic, if you take alcohol away from me, I get worse, not better. Hardest thing to get people to understand. The alcohol is the solution for an alcoholic. Drugs are a solution for the drug addicts. I mean, it fixes what's wrong with us. And I mean, my mom, I remember asking me when I was 13 years old, what's wrong with you? I mean, I was just an unhappy little kid. High profile guys, you know, I'm an identical twin. My mom's a professional artist. I mean, we're a lot of exposure out there. A lot of people know us. And I just don't, I can't fit in anywhere. And just don't feel comfortable. And I don't know, sooner or later what happens is the alcohol stops working. And there's a great line in the back of the book. I think it's on 155. It says, and I'll paraphrase it. It says, you're not going to be able to remember the consequences a week or month ago, but it talks about you're not going to be able to live life with it or without it. You know, then you're going to know loneliness like you do. And it's exactly what I can stop for short periods of time, guys. I get hot water with a food and beverage director or something and stop drinking. But guys, about 2 weeks in, I come apart at the seams. You know, I'm flipping people off on the highway and I'm, you know, mad at the world and hate the music I'm listening to, and nothing's, you know, all I need is that one beer and a big old sigh of relief and I'm okay. A lot of nodding heads, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about, you know. And I don't know. I came home one night and had a pushing match with my wife. I don't remember what the fight was about, but I'd been drinking, and this is the early 80s. We were all cocaine dealers. I don't know. We were all doing drugs. I know we're not talking about that, but you know, it was a combination of that and the alcohol. And I came home and didn't like something anyway. She asked me to leave, and I did. Came back a few hours later after I'd sobered up a little bit and apologized for acting like a poot. And we had a conversation. I finally told her, got honest with her about how much I was drinking, and she knew I was drinking. She didn't know idea how much I was drinking. She didn't know about the other outside issue stuff. And we had the conversation, and she's, you know, basically it was understood, if you want to stay married to this, you're going to have to stop drinking. And I promised her I would. And y'all have heard me speak 1,000 times with this, guys, but I'm telling, I can't not say it. When I looked her in the face and told her I was going to stop, I meant it with every fiber in my body. You know, there's always some guy who wants to make a joke. If an alcoholic's mouth moving, he's lying. That's not true, folks. There's some liars in AA. You may be one of them. It wasn't me. When I said I was going to stop, I meant it. I've seen thousands of people come to treatment with tears in their eyes, begging for help. They mean it. I get sick and tired of being scraped off the side of the plate every time I would relapse. Somebody would be, I knew he wasn't ready. Yeah, well, sorry for the sarcasm, guys, but I was ready, plenty. There was nobody that showed me the solution. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. God dang it. I could have asked, I know it, but the newcomer doesn't know what to ask. You know, it's left up to some of us old timers to explain it to the newcomer. That's our job. You know, it's what we do. And I went to my AA meetings and sat around the room and listened to people talk about all their horror stories. And don't just understand, guys, I've never been without a job. I've never lost a job because of my drinking. I got money, not much, guys. But I'm not doing a lot of the crazy shit that some of you guys did. And I know why they're telling it. They're trying to, you know, you don't want to end up like me. So I'm going to tell you the worst story I can come up with. You see, guys, you're not going to scare a newcomer into recovery. You're not. You might scare them into treatment, but you're not going to scare them into recovery. It's just not. And they spent a whole bunch of years in and out. I'd wait, listen to you guys. Nobody had a big book in a place. That's a fact. And we're talking about everything under the sun, your cat and everything else, except what the problem is. And guys, there was nobody trying to hurt me. Please, there's people getting sober in those meetings every day. It wasn't going to happen with me, obviously. I'm in and out. I'll stay in for a few weeks and go back out, get loaded. I'll come back in, stay a couple. I never got a 30-day chip in 7 years, folks. I'm in and out. And I ended up leaving. I've been gone. I guess this particular time was a long stint, but I don't know, 7 months or so. And went home one night and tried to commit suicide. I'm miserable, picked up a stack of return checks, and I'm so unhappy I can't see straight. And I don't know. I heard a voice that night that said, "Don't do this, go back to AA." And I made myself sick. I'd eaten a bunch of pills, and I promised that I'd go back to AA the next day. And that voice was still with me the next morning, and I committed that night to do it. And luck would have it, a piece of equipment broke down, and I couldn't get out in my usual time and had to wait late. And I only knew one other meeting I could get to before before it started. And it was a meeting I'd never been to before, but somebody had said it was a big book meeting, and I had no idea what that was. But I walked in the door, and little old girl stopped me from leaving the room because I got real self-conscious. And chairperson had seen me up in North Texas for years and waved at me and says, "Come on, sit up here with me." And I wouldn't do it, but I sat against the wall, and this little girl sat next to me and got me a cup of coffee and paper towels to clean up the mess. And guys, I got to tell you, they went around that room that night. I got to tell it. And they gave me the one thing I needed more than anything, which was hope, folks. They talked about getting their credit cards back, and the little girl had a car, and she bought her a brand new car in sobriety. And the guy had started a little business across the way from me, and little lady at the end of the table had gone back to school and got her little art degree. And, you can see the artwork on the wall back here. I'm a huge art fan. I am talentless, but I love art. And, she'd gone back to school and was all excited. And the kid next to me had come to AA and met a little girl, and they had a couple of little rat kids, and he was showing me little Polaroid pictures of his kids, and he had tears in his eyes, and he was just, they asked me if I wanted to stay sober one day at a time at the end of the meeting, and I picked up what was going to be my last chip. Who knew? And on the way out, these old geezers stopped me. These old cowboys stopped me, and they had big books all wrapped up with duct tape, and that's like they'd been using them. And they said, "Chris, sit with us for a few minutes. Let's see if we can help you figure out why you can't stay sober." And they got me another cup of coffee, and we sat down, and they opened the big book, and they qualified me. They had they knew the pages that we didn't start on the title page and read. I know a lot of people that do that. It just takes so long. These guys just cherry picked it in the first step stuff, the doctor's opinion, the physical craving, and the mental obsession on page 24. And, they talked about the spiritual malady. They gave me the circle triangle, the rundown. And I've got a little index. I'll put my little email in there before I finish. And it looks like that. And it's just a little index. It'll show you where the steps are in the big book. And you can I've got a little quick guide that I use to run people through the first step quickly. I think if we make one mistake in Alcoholics Anonymous, it's that we go too slow with the newcomers. Because guys, if we don't have a spiritual experience, the obsession is going to come back. And if we're taking time to read guys, they asked me to read, and we sat down at times and read certain things, but this wasn't something that we were going to drag on for month after month. I'd proved that I couldn't stay sober longer than a couple of weeks. And I needed to get on and make some amends and ultimately start working with others, which was what saved my life. And I got to tell you, folks, I went home that night with tears in my eyes and knowing for the first time I knew what was wrong with me. I'd called myself an alcoholic, folks, for 7 years. Bill Wilson's talking about Dr. Bob. He said he had much knowledge about himself as an alcoholic, but he didn't fully realize what it meant to be an alcoholic. In other words, he knew he had a problem, but he didn't understand what it was to be an alcoholic. You have so many people out there. I better guarantee you, this beautiful crowd of people, I guarantee you there's some of you in here that don't understand what it is to be an alcoholic. You want to connect it to the drama. You want to connect it. It's not. There's nothing in the book that says you got to have a drunk driving charge or rob a liquor store or do any of that to be one of us. Loss of control and choice is what makes us. And they opened it up, guys. I got to tell you, I went home that night. I'm on 7 prescription medications a day. I've been to all the churches. I've done everything anybody ever asked me to do. I've been to therapy. I've been to treatment. I've done and I can't put it together. And these guys said, "Chris, if you'll do this work with us quickly, we'll get you a sponsor. If you'll do this, I guarantee you can recover from alcoholism. You stick with us and you're going to be okay." And I went home with some hope. And the next morning they showed me how to make a pot of coffee. Yeah. And I hear the little nuke, "Yeah, what, you think that's going to keep me sober?" Yes, I do. Remember, guys, I've been in AA for 7 years and never done anything but bitch. And now these guys got me, Chris, come on, the meeting's fixing to start. Help us finish this coffee. So I'd make the coffee and I'd sit down. Okay. Yeah. And after the meeting, we chased some people out of the back room and got on our knees and did a little third step prayer. We did first step the night before, remember? We did a little third step. They explained it to me, guys. We did the little prayer, got on our knees and went to eat some food and came back and they gave me some notebook and little notebook and said, Chris, let's start working on that fourth step. And they showed me how to do a fourth step. 2 weeks later, I've got a completed fourth step, ready to dump a fifth step. And I'm sitting on the tailgate of my truck up in North Texas, and I dawns on me that the obsession to use is lifted. Folks, my sobriety date is November 13th, 1987. That obsession to use was lifted from me for the first time in my life 3 weeks after I tried to commit suicide. I mean, a couple of weeks in, I'm getting on some solid ground. But it's not because I finally wore God down and he had mercy on me. It's that I finally got off my butt and started following some instructions from some people that understood. I got to tell you real quick, I was so blessed to be in a room full of people that didn't spend any time telling me what I couldn't do. God damn, I visit lots of groups, guys, lots of groups when I go speak and I love to go to different groups. On Zoom, thank God we got them, and get to join and listen in. I can't tell you how many people it drives me crazy. Telling the newcomer, remember, don't get in a relationship for the first year. Now remember, Jesus, you can't start a job. Don't make any changes in the first year. Stop. Show me if it says it in the big book, and if it does, then share it. If it doesn't, then y'all need to be quiet. It's just, nobody's trying to hurt us, but guys, it makes us look cultish. You can't sponsor till you're sober a year. Show me in the book where it says that. My book says exactly opposite. In those first days of convalescence, nothing will so much ensure your sobriety as intensive work with other alcoholics. In those first days of convalescence, these guys had showed me, says, Chris, if you get busy with some service, if y'all ever looking for a topic, here's one. Bottom of page 14, it's my favorite. My friend had emphasized, Bill's talking about Ebby that helped him understand what was going to be the steps. My friend had emphasized the absolute necessity of demonstrating these principles in all my affairs. Particularly was it imperative to work with others as he worked with me. Exclamation point. For if an alcoholic fails to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. If he didn't work, he would surely drink again, and if he drank, he would surely die. Then faith would be dead indeed. With us, it is just like that. Several places in the book, Bill Wilson talks about he failed to enlarge his spiritual life. That means he didn't go work with other alcoholics. Nobody was trying to hurt me, guys. They were killing me with it. I get people all over. I did a workshop in New Orleans one time, and a guy came up and said, we don't let anybody in New Orleans sponsor till they're 5 years sober. That's ridiculous. I happen to know a lot of people in New Orleans. I know that's not true, but that's ridiculous. Guys, I get it. The old timers just said, Chris, we got you through this work. Okay, so if somebody asked you, while I'm making my amends, they said, if somebody asked you to sponsor them, you say yes, and then call me because your life's fixing to change forever. You know, I'll walk you right through it. I'll show you how. We're not counselors, folks. We're not doctors. We're not lawyers. I don't have to give. What happens if I hurt some? You can't. Show them the circle triangle on the title page of the book where it used to be, and talk to them about being in all three parts, and qualify them and show them where the steps are. God, you've done it. The miracles takes place. I was looking at a deal the other day, and I gotta read it real quick. It's in AA Comes of Age, a little book. Some of y'all need to get it. There's a lot of great literature in Alcoholics Anonymous, and some of these books that were published 1 million years ago. And a lot of the newcomers, a lot of the young people don't ever buy these books. I was lucky. I ended up in a group where men and women in there that periodically walk by the bookshelf and says, "What are you reading?" And I'd say, "The big book." I'm thinking it's a trick question, you know. And I said, "Yeah, I know. We're reading that too. What else are you reading?" And they'd show me, "Chris, what about Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers? Why don't you, have you read this one?" Yeah. My brother bought me my first copy of AA Comes of Age. It's talking about newer folks sponsoring, it said new folks sponsoring newer folks. It was soon evident that a sheen of personal sponsorship would have to be devised for the new people. Each prospect was assigned an older AA who visited at his home or in the hospital, instructing him on AA principles and conducting him to his first meeting. But in the face of many hundreds of pleas for help, the supply of elders could not possibly meet the demand. Brand new AA, sober only a month or even a week, had to sponsor alcoholics still drying up in hospitals. How could they possibly manage? We did not know. But a year later, we did know. For by then, Cleveland AA had about 30 groups and several hundred members. Guys, this is not rocket science. This is real simple. Work the steps, have a spiritual experience, then turn around and give it to somebody else. I know you can't give away something you don't have, but the book is saying, they did a study years ago on, they did it on heroin addicts. They didn't actually do it on alcoholics, but the study showed that having a sponsor was really important. The study also showed that being a sponsor was more important than having a sponsor. Bill Wilson said it when he's in the Mayflower Hotel and he's crazy. And he's looking at the bar and he's looking, he said, I got to go find a drunk. He said, I knew I needed an alcoholic more than that alcoholic could ever need me. And that motivated him to go to the phone booth and start calling numbers on the directory, which put him in touch with Henrietta Seiberling after 2 calls, and then Dr. Bob soon after. Not a penny in his pocket. He had $4 in his pocket. And I mean, the archivist will tell you, just he knew he needed a drunk. Dr. Bob meets with him. I'll meet with this guy for 15 minutes, and then I'm going home. He's all hungover from the day before, but he's semi-sober. And Bill and them talk. They talked till after midnight. I was just on a history Zoom the other day. They talked till after midnight. Over 6 hours, they were still in the living room at Henrietta Seiberling's Gate Lodge. If any of y'all ever get to Akron, go check it out and call me first. I got the hookup. I know all the cats there. God, it's the bomb when you start sitting there right there where Bill and Bob first. I mean, God's all over that. And Dr. Bob got sober, and then number 3 got sober, and number 4 got sober. What happens if Dr. Bob said, I have to wait a year before we can go find number 3? They didn't. I got to say this real quick. All of y'all have heard me talk about it, but I can't. I'm sitting on the tailgate one night after a meeting with the clear understanding that the obsession to use had lifted. And I'm looking around and I'm just, I don't know, guys, it was one of those magical evenings. I walked up to my old dirty apartment, cleaned it, cranked on some hot music, just all jazzed up from all the coffee I drank at the meeting, and just, but I mean, I'm surrounded by liquor places I can buy booze. My outside issues guy is living in the apartment complex where I live, and I, it's Friday. I got money in my pocket. I'm done, guys. I don't want, there's nothing out there that's going to trigger me. Oh my God. And I'm a happy camper. And about the next day, I was in that meeting, and same stuff. I'm helping them make coffee. And the old guy said, Chris, next week we got our group conscience. Get somebody else to clean your danged old club. And he looked at me, he said, yeah, well, we figured you'd say that, but come to group conscience anyway. Who knows? Anyway, I'd never been to a group conscience in all the years I'd been in Alcoholics Anonymous, so I went. And there was about 30 or 40 people in there. And before I knew what happened, they unanimously nominated me for chairman of the cleanup committee. And I was not happy about it. Arms folded. And I went, really, guys, y'all think I went in the kitchen and talked to this guy. He's the same guy that 12-stepped me that night. Same old cowboy hat on, same old belt buckle about the size of a dinner plate. Y'all understand? I mean, this, yeah. What a guy. He had a Cadillac with bullhorns on the front. Y'all think I'm making this shit up. I'm telling you, this is the fact. Anyway, I went in after the meeting, and we were cleaning up the coffee stuff. And I said, I asked him, I says, could I get a list of the other committee members? If I'm going to do this, I need to organize a cleaning rotation for this clubhouse, you know? And so I know how to do this, guys. I've done it forever. And he spit coffee clear across the kitchen. He said, Chris, there's no committee. You're the janitor at this group. Okay. Here's the closet. Here's the vacuum cleaner. Here's the cleaning supplies. Here's the keys. Bye-bye now. Man, I stayed away for a couple of days. I was going to punish him. I wasn't never going to go back. And on a Friday afternoon, I let myself in the room and locked myself into that club and cleaned that club like it had never been cleaned before. I mean, literally, guys, chairs with a ruler, all, you know, vacuumed, everything, all that brown stuff in the coffee pots, all that's gone, and clean those nasty bathrooms. What? Guys, listen, ladies, if you drop a paper towel on the floor, pick it up, put it in the trash can. I don't know, it just freaks me out. I don't know. I got in there, clean that place like you wouldn't believe. And it's about 5:30. Our meeting starts at 6. And I'm sitting in there. I've made a fresh pot of coffee for the meeting start. And I'm sitting in there all soaking wet, my little Fruit of the Loom t-shirt. And the matriarch of the group walks in. I always tell her, guys, bless her heart. She walked, you could hear her because she slid her little feet. She's about 3 feet high. She's a really short little girl, lady. And she's, I don't know, 140 years old then, I don't know, at least. And she slid in there behind me. She looked around the corner. She's squealing in the kitchen. I said, she looked around the corner. She said, did you clean this place? And I said, yes, ma'am. And she walked around behind me. She looked like a little question mark when she walked. She just, I mean, y'all know, it's just tiny. And she walked around behind me, gave me a little back hug around there. And I could still feel her breath on my cheek. And she said, boy, we need you here. I'm about a month away from that suicide attempt, folks. I'm going to say it again. I did not try to commit suicide because I was in a blackout or drunk. I tried to commit suicide because I felt absolutely useless. And these people knew it. Makes me want to cry. God, these people absolutely knew that if I didn't find a job in AA, I wasn't going to stay. I was going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to come in, sit around, wait around to be offended, and leave. I said, get a job. They gave me a job, folks. I'm the cleanup guy. For 5 years, until I left that group, I was the cleanup guy. Hallelujah. Guys, if you find a job in AA, the old timers told me, you'll stay. And that's all I can say with it. It's just, Bill Wilson, there's lots of ways to be of service. Sometimes, ultimately, it's about sitting down with somebody and showing them the 12 steps. The forward to the first edition talks about it. It says, this is the main purpose of this book. We're precisely how we recovered. Showing the newcomer is the main purpose of what this book's about. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not paraphrasing precisely. That's what it meant. That's what we're supposed to do. But guys, some of us, you know, use the talents that God's given you to help the group no matter what. I was talking to somebody the other day. You remember that little tech guy that we used to laugh our butts off and make fun of in our AA group because he always had, oh my God, yeah. He's the guy that's helping us set up Zooms. When all of us were sitting around trying to figure out how to turn the damn thing on, you know, these are the guys that were setting it up and getting the licenses and doing all the cool stuff that we need to do. I mean, oh my God, look, how many times did we do Zooms? We did them for a year before anybody figured out how to share a screen and all that. I mean, all of a sudden, these little guys got whatever your service is. Are you going to chair a meeting? The spiritual warfare in the last 5 minutes I got, the spiritual warfare that all of us face. We got some people with some long-time sobriety in here. We've got some brand new newcomers in here. Let me tell you, the spiritual warfare is there for all of us. That spiritual warfare is the little voice in your ear that keeps telling you that you're not good enough to do something. That's absolute crap. It's that little voice that tells you you can't go back to school because you're not smart enough or you don't have enough money. This is nonsense. Because you make a commitment on what you want to do, I guarantee you God starts to move. Tons of information around that, guys. Tons of literature that talk about that. You make a commitment. It's about committing to be sober. All right, put some feet under it. Show us that you're committed. Take a job. Get on the cleanup. Get on the steering committee for the next little conference. Volunteer to be a greeter at the door. Do something besides sitting on your butt. And I guarantee you, all of a sudden the group is yours. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Stop listening to that little voice that tells you That's the spiritual warfare. The spiritual warfare that tells us that those of us that got some sobriety under our belt, oh, don't worry about that. Let the little new guys take care of that. They'll do it. Yeah. You see, one of the things I learned a long time ago is none of us seem to have any idea who God's going to use to help us. That's why I love to be on meetings like this. You know, it still freaks me out when I think I know, how stupid of me, when I think I know who God's going to use to help me. Sometimes it ain't that the guru sitting in the corner that's 40 years sober. We can benefit from those people, and maybe that's going to be the person that changes it for you. And sometimes it's that little knucklehead that's living in a halfway house. Y'all follow? Yeah, tattooed from tip to toe. But he's got his big book in front of him. What he wants to share is what God told him this morning. And all of a sudden you're listening to this and like your hair standing up on the back of your neck going, what? Yeah. I don't know who God's going to use. I just know if I'll come to the meeting with open mind and no open heart, God's going to show me how I can be of service. That was Bill Wilson's prayer, folks. God, put me where you want me and keep me there. The beauty of the Zooms, now we're all back in public. I just left my AA group. I left Myers in charge of the cash. Then I hold him accountable. Next time you talk to him, ask him, did you pick up the cash? Okay, I'm just saying. I left him there in charge because I had to come on and do that. How cool did I get to meet a whole room full of a bunch of other new friends? I'm going to put my email in there, and I guarantee you there's a bunch of you that will email me. The majority of you won't. And that's okay. That's rock on. I scare me. I wouldn't email me either. Guys, I just get excited about it. I love the idea. This works. It breaks my heart when I sit in these meetings, whether they're in person or they're Zoom, or maybe it's at work in the treatment center, and I listen to some little knucklehead come up and he's all banged up and he's introduced himself at the beginning, you know, and he says, oh, guys, you know, I tried AA. It didn't work. Usually they're on Medicaid, you know, medically assisted treatment. You know, they're on a bunch of meds and oh, okay, well, let's try that. I can guarantee you that won't work either. Most of these guys, when you talk to them, did the same thing I did for 7 years. They just went to meetings. There's not one place in the book that says if you go to a meeting every day, you'll stay sober. I'd rather go to one cool meeting like this a week and get all jazzed, y'all follow, and get some juice and go help somebody, than to go to a meeting every day that you just hate, looking at the clock. God, is this ever going to be over? If that old bastard in the corner shares again, I'm going to shoot myself. You know, that's not, that's not good. We got a bell ringer at our group. It doesn't matter who shares. You got 5 minutes. If you share longer than 5 minutes, we're going to ring a bell on your ass. That's it. Some people don't like that. We love it. But anyway, I'll send you our format sometime. I'm just saying, guys, it's an absolute honor to be here. And it's the coolest from my little perch with a few years under my belt to watch the little newcomers come in and catch fire. The thing that holds us together, though, guys, is this working with others, this service. The people that, whether they go to treatment or not, guys, whether they go to a halfway house or not, whether they go to IOP or not, the people that get busy with service. I could go through here and I could name a bunch of you on here. I'm not going to embarrass you to do it. I can name a bunch of you on here that have set up Zooms, that started, you know, websites, just gone the cool things that we've done. You got to find a job. Where can I be of most? Where can God use me the most? Oh my gosh. And all of a sudden you get these little guidances and you get in there and you start jumping, and pretty soon you're looking around the room and you're going to your first birthday meeting and you look over there and this guy that you've been working with is picking up his year chip. I dare you not to cry. I have to leave because I have an image to uphold. So I'm not going to do it. I'll wait till I get in my car. Y'all follow? And the mom and dad's in there. Yeah, they're watching their son who was going to die from overdose somewhere. You know, now all of a sudden they're in there and this kid's got a job and his family's in there and they're all crying and he's picking up his year and he forgot to thank me for helping him, but it's okay. God helped him, folks. It's all about God. It's all about getting connected spiritually. And that happens by working with others, folks. It just changes everything in your life. And Selfish and self-centeredness is the root of our problem. The solution to that is service work. Just get in there and start helping wherever you can. And I'm sure honored to be here, guys. And if I can ever help you, y'all make sure you holler at me, okay? And the good twin signing out. Thank y'all.
Yeah, everyone, if you'd all unmute and give
Yes,
Thank you, Chris.
so much,
Amazing.
guys. Wonderful, wonderful.
Awesome.
Chris.
Awesome.
Lovely enthusiasm.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to you later, Jack.